welcome to Communicate to Lead, the podcast that empowers leaders and aspiring leaders to communicate with clarity and impact. I'm Keely Belton, CEO and successful entrepreneur, and your host for today. I'm here to equip you with all the essential tools and strategies to master effective communication and lead your team to success. As the founder and CEO of The Tailored Approach, my goal is to empower you to be the best leader you can be. So sit back, relax, and join me in today's episode as we dive into the art of communicating like a true leader. Welcome back to Communicate to Lead. I'm Keely Belton, and today we're diving into something that every leader faces, yet so few of us have mastered: how to communicate confidently when everything around you feels uncertain. Think about the last time you had to stand in front of your team with incomplete information. That moment when your heart races a little faster, your palms get a little sweaty, and you're wondering if everyone can see right through you. Today, I'm sharing how you can handle these moments with confidence and authority. In the face of uncertainty, even the most experienced leaders can feel their confidence waver. It's like the ground shifts beneath you, and suddenly you're not so sure of your footing. A client of mine, let's call her Mia, is a senior director at a global tech company. Last year, she found herself in what she called her leadership nightmare. Her company was going through a massive reorganization, the kind that reshapes entire divisions. Mia knew changes were coming to her team of 15 people, but she didn't have the full picture. Some team members would stay with her, others would move to different departments, and yes, some positions would be eliminated entirely. For 6 weeks, Mia had to lead her team through this fog of uncertainty. She had to maintain productivity, keep morale up, and most challengingly, look at her team in the eye every single day while carrying information she could not yet share with them. Initially, she tried what most leaders do: avoiding team meetings, giving vague responses, and essentially hiding behind her laptop. But she quickly realized this approach was making things worse. The vacuum she created was being filled with rumors and anxiety. What Mia did next completely transformed how her team navigated this uncertain period. And I'll be sharing her strategies throughout today's episode. Let's start with the psychology of uncertainty. Don't worry, this is not a psychology lesson, but I find it helpful when trying to explain why we as human beings struggle with uncertainty. Because uncertainty throws us off balance. Our brains crave predictability, and when that's missing, it triggers our stress response. This makes clear, confident communication so much harder. Think about it. When you're feeling anxious, do you communicate as effectively as you would when you're confident and calm? I'm going to guess not. And as leaders, our anxiety can be contagious. Yes, it can. If we are not careful, our team will pick up on our uncertainty and mirror it right back to us, amplifying the stress and potentially leading to panic. It's a tightrope walk between being transparent on the one hand and maintaining a sense of stability on the other. So how do we navigate this? How do we communicate effectively when we don't have all the answers? It's a question I get all the time. And it's a challenge every leader faces at some point. Here are a few core principles I found incredibly helpful. Number 1, acknowledge the known and unknown. Honesty is truly the best policy here. Be upfront about what you know and what you don't know. People can smell BS a mile away, and trying to pretend you have it all figured out when you don't erodes trust faster than just about anything else. Think of it this way. You're not expected to have a crystal ball. What you are expected to do is to be straight with your people. For example, instead of saying, "We're definitely on track to launch next quarter," try something like, "We're aiming for a launch next quarter, but we're still finalizing X and Y, and I'll keep you updated on our progress." Notice the difference? Number 2, Normalize uncertainty. We live in a world that often values certainty and having all the answers, but the truth is, uncertainty is a natural part of life, especially in business. If we weren't trying new things, innovating, and pushing boundaries, would we ever grow? Probably not. So help your team understand that uncertainty isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign that we're moving forward. Remind them ambiguity is often where the magic happens, where creativity and new solutions emerge. And number 3, focus on constants. When everything around you feels shaky, it's crucial to ground yourself and your team in the things that don't change. What are the bedrock principles that guide your company? What's your mission? What are your values? What processes or systems have always served you well? These are your anchors in the storm of uncertainty. By consistently reinforcing this constant, you provide a sense of stability and remind people what they can count on, even when there are unknowns. And lastly, number 4, use bridge language. This is a powerful communication technique that I use all the time and I teach it to my clients. Bridge language creates a sense of continuity and manages expectations. It acknowledges the current uncertainty while also signaling that you're actively working towards a solution. Phrases like, here's what we know today, or as we gather more information, or alternatively, you could say, we'll be evaluating our options and I'll share an update by this day. Give them the date when you will share the update. Make sure that even if you don't have any information at that time, let them know that and that you will continually keep them updated. These phrases keep people in the loop. It reduces anxiety and builds trust. By embracing these principles, you'll not only communicate more effectively during times of uncertainty, but you'll also strengthen your leadership and build a more resilient team. Okay, we've talked about the principles of communicating in uncertainty. Now let's flip the script a little and talk about what not to do. Because let's be real, when things are uncertain, it's so easy to fall into some common communication traps. Here are a few to watch out for. First one, overpromising. This is a big one. When people are anxious, it's incredibly tempting to try and soothe those anxieties by making promises. We often tend to say things like, don't worry, everything will be fine. Or, I'm sure we'll have this resolved by next week. But here's the thing. If you can't deliver on those promises, you'll damage your credibility and lose people's trust. It's much better to be realistic and transparent about the situation, even if it means delivering some tough news. Underpromise and overdeliver is a much better strategy in the long run. Secondly, corporate speak is another trap. Oh, corporate speak. We've all been there. We all know that tempting urge to hide behind jargon, vague language, or those pre-approved PR statements. But you know what? People see right through it. Using language that feels inauthentic or avoids the real issues only creates more confusion and distrust. Instead, be direct, use plain language, and get to the point quickly. Remember, you're talking to human beings, not robots. The third trap, waiting for perfect information. This is a trap that perfectionists like me can easily fall into, and I have when I was a young leader just starting out. We want to have all the answers before we communicate anything. But in times of uncertainty, waiting for perfect information can mean waiting forever. In the meantime, what's happening? Rumors are swirling, people are filling in the gaps with their own assumptions, and anxiety keeps growing. So instead, share what you know when you know it. Even if it's just a small piece of the puzzle, it's so much better than radio silence. And then lastly, the fourth trap, false uncertainty. It's natural to want to project an air of confidence, especially when you're in a leadership role. But trying to appear overly confident when you're actually feeling uncertain can backfire in the worst possible way. People can sense when you're not being genuine. It can actually undermine your credibility. Instead, embrace your authenticity. It's okay to acknowledge that you don't have all the answers and that you're also navigating the uncertainty with your team. This vulnerability can actually build trust and strengthen your connection with your team. And after all, that is what we want. You'd rather have a stronger connection with your team than pulling away from them. Avoiding these pitfalls will not only make you a more effective communicator and leader, but it will also help you build stronger relationships and navigate challenges with more confidence and authenticity. All right, let's get tactical. Knowing the principles is important, but we also need practical tools to put those principles into action. Here are some of my favorite techniques for communicating effectively in the face of uncertainty. Number 1, focus on structured updates. This is about creating predictability in an unpredictable situation. Establish a regular rhythm of communication, whether it's a weekly email, a bi-weekly team meeting, or even daily check-ins if the situation requires it. The key here is consistency. Even if you have very little new information to share, stick to the schedule. If you told your team daily check-ins, weekly check-ins, make sure you stick to the schedule. That is what helps them know what is certain, creates the predictability, and eases anxiety. This demonstrates that you're on top of things, that you are committed to keeping people informed, and it helps manage expectations. Think of it this way. You are providing a steady drumbeat of communication that people can rely on, which reduces anxiety and allows them to focus on their work, which they still have to do despite the situation that's happening. Number 2, strategic reframing. This is a technique I borrow from the world of media training, and it's incredibly effective. It's about strategically using language to acknowledge a question or concern, while also shifting the focus to what you do know and what you are doing. It means consciously choosing language that shifts the focus from problems to solutions, from unknowns to action. For example, instead of saying, "I don't know," try saying, "That's a great question, and I'm working to get you an answer." Practice using phrases like, "We don't have all the details yet, but here's what we're doing to find out." Or, "This is a developing situation, and I'll share updates as soon as I have them." Positive reframing helps you maintain control of the narrative, project confidence, and build trust with your team. Number 3, body language and tone. Here's what we want to remember whenever it comes to communication. Communication is about so much more than just the words we say. Our nonverbal cues, our body language and tone of voice speak volumes. When you are communicating in uncertainty, it is crucial to project calm and confidence, even if you don't necessarily feel it. Maintain eye contact. Use a calm and steady voice and project an open posture. Avoid crossing your arms, fidgeting, or speaking too quickly. These small adjustments can make a big difference in how you come across as a leader and how your message is received. And lastly, number 4, handling tough questions. One of my favorite ones, because let's be honest, when things are uncertain, there will be questions. There'll be tough questions, and that's okay. It's an opportunity to demonstrate your leadership and build trust. Prepare for these questions in advance. I can't encourage you enough to do this. Think about the potential questions and concerns people might have and practice your responses. Practice them in front of your mirror. Practice them with someone that you trust. Practice your responses and record yourself and watch them back. And remember, it's perfectly acceptable to say, "I don't have that information right now, but I'll find out and get back to you." In fact, that's often the best answer. It shows that you're taking the question seriously and that you're committed to providing accurate information. By mastering these practical communication techniques, you'll be equipped to navigate uncertainty with confidence and lead your team effectively through any challenge. All right, now it's time to take action because we can't leave an episode without taking some action. Here's how you can apply today's principles and techniques to your own leadership and communication. Number 1, create a communication checklist. Before any important communication, especially in times of uncertainty, take a moment to prepare. Develop a simple checklist that prompts you to consider key elements. Consider the following. What's my core message? Who is my audience? What are their potential concerns? Really try and get inside their heads. What information is most critical? What communication channels are most appropriate? Having a checklist will help you ensure you're covering all the bases and communicating strategically. Number 2, ask yourself some key questions. Self-reflection is a powerful tool for growth. So before you hit send on that email or step into that meeting, take a moment to ask yourself some key questions. What are the potential concerns my team might have right now? What questions might they ask? What information is most critical for them to know right now? Because sometimes you have a lot of information, but they don't need all of it. So the question is, what do they need right now to help them feel safe, to help them feel taken care of, to help them continue doing the work productively? And then, how can I best convey confidence and clarity even if I don't have all the answers? This self-reflection exercise will help you to craft more effective and empathetic communication. Number 3, seek feedback. I can't stress this one enough. One of the best ways to improve your communication skills is to ask for feedback. Ask trusted colleagues or mentors to observe your communication in meetings or presentations. Ask them for their honest feedback on your clarity, tone, and your body language. You could even ask your team for feedback on your communication effectiveness. After all, you want to serve them, and they will take a genuine interest if they know you truly want their feedback. This feedback can provide valuable insights and help you identify areas for improvement. Here's what I want to leave you with. Leading through uncertainty is an art. It requires a delicate balance of transparency, confidence, and authenticity. By embracing these principles and practicing these techniques, you can navigate uncertainty with grace and lead your team to incredible success. And that, my friend, is a wrap on this episode of Communicate to Lead. I hope you found these strategies helpful and that you feel empowered to communicate with confidence, even when you don't have all the answers. Remember, uncertainty is a natural part of growth. It's a natural part of life. And it's often in those moments of ambiguity that we discover our true leadership potential. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And if you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, what have you. Please leave me a review. I read every single one and I appreciate all of them. Your feedback will help me reach more women and make a bigger impact. Until next week, my friend, I'm Keely, reminding you that great communication is the foundation of inspiring leadership. Keep learning, keep growing, and remember to communicate to lead.